Thank you for coming out this morning. My name is Ed Romaine. I'm the supervisor of Brookhaven, and I'm joined by numerous elected officials and citizens advocates concerning the recent action of the MTA. The MTA, as you may know, has proposed next year a rate increase of 4% for everyone in Nassau and Suffolk County, while at the same time proposing an up to 20% discount for those who ride the Long Island Railroad within the boundaries of New York City. This was a deal that was made with the New York State Assembly in an effort to pass congestion pricing. To do that, the Assembly required a discount to city riders while raising the fares for Long Island. We're here at Ronkonkoma Station, which is, I believe, the busiest station on Long Island Railroad. If you ride the train from this station and you're a commuter, you're paying $7,224 a year to do that. And that doesn't include the cost for parking. And they are going to raise the fares. This is unconscionable. This is a handout to the city at the expense of Long Island. And all I wish to say is Long Island is not the cash cow for New York City. The MTA should be looking out for Long Island. And by the way, look at this station. This is the main line. This is where electrification ends. There is no electrification east of here. Go to Huntington. There is no electrification east of Huntington. There is no electrification east of Babylon. The MTA has not made the investment they should on Long Island. We are the stepchild for the MTA, and we're here to say that no longer plays. What about our commuters? And with me today, we have a number of great elected officials. I'm going to start with Assemblyman Anthony Palumbo.
Thank you, Supervisor. Now, I represent the North Fork of Long Island, and generally for the entire East End, we've always had an issue, particularly on the North Fork, regarding service. We have a very limited use of the trains where we are. So in 2018, we expanded the service, and ridership is up. But the bottom line is, as the supervisor said, we are sick and tired of Long Island acting as the piggy bank for New York City's problems. We had the congestion pricing vote. I voted against this commission. We don't even know what the congestion pricing is going to be, what the additional toll will be to drive into Midtown. And I don't understand how this isn't completely counterintuitive to the folks using the train. Congestion pricing's intent was for individuals to start using public transportation and not using their vehicles. Now, the folks that are using the train will only get discounts going into New York City, and Long Island, once again, will bear the brunt of this raise. They have billions of dollars in subsidies from the state, from the Fed. This is from the federal government. This is a New York City problem, and we should not bear the brunt of it. Mayor de Blasio should pay for this. They are overwhelmingly serviced to an exponential rate more than Long Islanders are by the MTA and their services. So why do we continue to do this? This is another bludgeon of the local taxpayer on Long Island, and it's got to stop. Congestion pricing was a mistake, and this is another one. Thank you.
We're also joined by Ed Smith, who is a council person in the town of Huntington.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'm Ed Smith. I represent the town of Huntington. We have a tremendous amount of commuters from Huntington into the city, and we've seen this movie before, and we know how it ends. It ends badly. Right now, the commuters from Huntington are paying for their ticket, and they're paying for a ticket for somebody else in New York City because everything is getting pushed out to Long Island as far as expenses, and it won't be long before you're expected to buy them coffee and a bagel as well. This has to stop. The New York State legislature has to stop looking at Long Island like it's their ATM machine. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Supervisor.
Thank you. We have the tax receiver from the town of Islip, Alexis Week.
Thank you, Supervisor. The mismanagement of projects all throughout the city should not be the brunt of Long Islanders to pay. The oversight for Governor Cuomo and other majority leaders in the state need to understand that Long Island pays enough for commuting, $7,224 to get from Ronkonkoma to this city as an annual cost is enough. Long Island is not the piggy bank for the city, and we shouldn't continue to be.
Thank you. We have Councilwoman Jody Giglio from the town of Riverhead.
Good morning, Jody Giglio from Long Island for Long Island. Long Island taxpayers have been tapped too many times to fund infrastructure projects for the MTA. We've tried to roll it back, but it doesn't seem to be getting the message across. We are overtaxed here on Long Island with our property taxes, with the incentives that we get that were taken away by the governor, and it needs to stop. It's becoming very unaffordable to live here. And going into the city and working in the city is a challenge as it is, but adding additional costs onto hardworking people of Long Island is not acceptable anymore. So I hope that the Assembly and the Senate are listening to us, and I know that we have good representation up there, and I'm hoping that this is stopped. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The senior member of the Brookhaven Town Board, Jane Bonner.
Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. You're very fortunate to be standing in the sun. Back there in the shade, it's very cold. So all my colleagues from other levels of government have said it so eloquently. I guess in a sense, we're all just very frustrated and disgusted that Long Island, Nassau, and Suffolk County continue to be the wallet for the state. The governor and his cronies continually pickpocket us, take our money, and don't bring us back anything close to our fair share, whether it be school taxes and now this usurious fee to punish Long Island commuters with not only by pickpocketing us for additional dollars to ride their decrepit trains. We're in transportation that's from another century. Diesel. The supervisor touched on it. Other countries have super fast trains, maglevs. The United and New York and the MTA think that it's okay that the commuters that pay almost $8,000 a year to commute from Long Island, that it's okay to put them on a diesel train. So we're all here, united, letting the residents of Nassau and Suffolk County know that we're done, we're not going to take this anymore.
Thank you. The station happens to be in Councilman Foley's district, Brookhaven Town Councilman Neil Foley.
Thank you, Supervisor. Good morning, everybody. So once again, we stand in front of you, in front of the cameras, and once again, it's a broken record. Now you realize why thousands and thousands of New Yorkers are leaving the state every single month. Not only is transportation very expensive, food is expensive, car insurance is expensive, our taxes are expensive. Something has to be done. Please, Governor Cuomo, please, let's do something about this mess. Thank you, Supervisor.
Our Deputy Supervisor and Town Councilman Dan Panico.
Well, thank you, Ed, and thank you all. Councilman Foley's right. How many times have we stood here as Long Islanders begging for help? We live in a state where our suburban interests are not represented. They're not represented at all. We pay the most per pupil, and if you open the pages of Newsday, you see we have the 38th out of 50 states graduation rate. We pay the most for everything in this state, and we do not get our fair share. Our suburban interests are not represented in Albany, and it's something that everyone needs to remember in November. A smart person, Senator Ken Lavelle, who's retiring from the Senate, an illustrious career, he told me a long time ago, and I'll tell you, I'll quote him, he's right. It is not a question of Republicans and Democrats anymore. It's a question of urban interests versus suburban interests. We deserve to be heard. Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, Kevin Lavelle, Councilman, represents many of the commuters on.
Thank you, Supervisor. I certainly want to chime in with my colleagues in government here about how ridiculous these fee increases are. But I could touch on something else. You know, on a town level, for years, we've been working to bring transit-oriented development. And right behind us here, you're seeing the beginnings of that. The Tri-Tech project that's being built right here to make it easier for Long Islanders to get into the city. Basically, New York City is spitting in our face right now with these fee increases because we're trying to bring new development here to make it easier for residents to go from the Long Island to the city. Now with these new fee increases, it's going to make it harder for them to be able to afford to live here and be able to ride the train here. And this is really certainly destroying us here on Long Island. And I think going forward, Governor Cuomo really needs to take a look at what's going on here and help Long Island out for a change.
Thank you, and I'll just sum it up very quickly. Our message to the MTA is stop shortchanging Long Island. We're as mad as hell, and we're not going to take it anymore. You are shortchanging us at the expense of New York City. You have not made the capital investment you should have made on Long Island, and now you're raising our fares while lowering the fares for those who live within the city. That's not fair. It's not just. Stop shortchanging Long Island.